Today on Perpetual Projects, we are solving a problem. So the first time this truck was driven, what happened?
I lost a drive shaft.
Sound familiar?
Did a nice burnout and it pulled out of the back of the transmission and spit it on the ground and made a mess.
So the plan is, right now it's lowered with 6 inches of lowering blocks and leaf springs. That's not gonna work. Apparently the motor makes too much poop for that. So we're gonna get the bed off this. The plan is to 4-link it, and we're starting with basically a stock 56 Chevy frame. It's been, I guess, C-notched, so it could be lowered, but that's obviously not working. So first thing we're gonna do is get the bed off of it and figure out what we're gonna do with the frame starting somewhere on the back of the cab. All right, so obviously bed's off. We're kind of just brainstorming here. We're gonna cut the frame somewhere around here, and then we've got our tires. This is the height of tire that is gonna be used, and we're gonna have to get the rear end and set where it's gonna go. And then we gotta build a cross member here to tie the back of the original frame to our new frame, which is gonna be inset just a little bit. And we're just trying to figure out exactly where everything's gonna go. So once we have a solid plan together, because we can't think under pressure of the camera staring at us, so we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do. Once we have a solid plan together, we'll give you guys an update, show you what we plan to do.
Okay, Richard. Richard has a friend who does awesome work. Explain what we just picked up.
We got some 4-link brackets made today in a hurry.
Travis wants one of those machines.
Yeah.
I do.
You just have to have a friend with one. You phone a friend.
And then this is the new
This is the diff rear end.
Shane.
Looks good. It had some holes that had to do a little body work.
It'll be fine.
I don't know. I think we're gonna build a cross member at the back of where we cut the frame off, and do a cross member there with the drive shaft loop in it, and then instead of tapering the frame rails over, come straight off that with frame rails with a gusset going out to the original frame rail. And so we just need something in case we need to box the end of that frame a little bit to add a little bit of gussets to where we hook that cross member in.
Yeah, I got plenty of pieces. Actually, remember that thing I showed you?
But you're a fabricator. How's that sound to you doing it that way?
It'd be fine. As long as we're doing 3/16 is probably.
Is that what the frame is?
I would. Oh no, the frame's probably 1/8, honestly. But the fact that it's square adds so much strength.
Well,
you're only going plate.
The metal that we're using for we have the, what is it? 1/8 inch square tubing that will make the.
For the adding the frame.
That's what we'll make the cross member out of, and I just want some plate to it's gonna go all the way to the frame rails, just something to box that in and reinforce where it's hooked, so it's hooked more than just around the edge of it.
Yeah, if you did a triangle here, top and bottom, that'd be 3/16 would be 1/8 would probably do it, honestly, because the fact that the tube's already in, you're going top and bottom anyway.
Yeah.
But 3/16 would be even better. And you know how to weld. You can get 1/8 to melt to 3/16 pretty easy. So I mean, like I said, those are perfect. Those are 3/16.
It's probably fine.
No, I've got a bigger piece. Well,
This is probably fine.
I think
I've got another one. I mean, take this, cut whatever you can off this. You can get the 6-inch straight pieces off of that.
Well, they're almost cut here.
Yeah, that's probably 1 inch.
Leave a nice corner so we can get a weld that's not hanging over like the other ones that are already on the.
Well, I did 1 inch is right.
Is it?
Yeah, it gives you a 45 to weld into right in. Yeah.
I've never seen anybody mount tires this way.
Well, it's a race car, so things don't exactly go the normal way all the time.
It's like a
Is it too tall for you too?
Yeah.
drag racer's lamp is what it looks like right now.
We're making yard art.
Some expensive yard art. You know it's tall when even Richard has to get a chair.
Yeah. We don't have actual wheel studs yet, so right now we're just using grade 8 bolts. It'll roll around just fine.
Oh no, you broke it already.
It ain't broke.
Can't fixed.
sometimes you have to get rid of the bad.
So all
Make
this is
room.
now trash or scrap
It
or
gets
save for
worse
future
before it gets
project
good.
What?
or save for future project.
Or scrap.
No,
Scrap.
that's scrap plate. All right, so we welded this bar in here, and that is a new cross member. Obviously, the drive shaft is gonna have to pass through the cross member. So this is kind of permanent, but somewhat temporary. We're going to, you can see we've marked the center line. This is where our new frame rails are gonna go here. And then we're gonna weld our 4-link brackets onto these, I don't know what they are, bends.
Do you know what they're called?
Steel.
Yeah. We need a
Mandrel.
6-inch piece here, and then these will go welded in here, and that'll locate our brackets to give us the same exact wheelbase as we had before with a 21-inch lower bar.
Is that what you're working on?
I am working on some brackets, yes.
Are they even?
Not yet.
Getting there.
Not even.
But, and then once we get this all tacked together and kind of somewhat welded, Richard's going to go back and add a bunch of gusseting to it. We're thinking that there'll be a gusset from the frame here to over there. This will get gusseted back to the original frame. This might get boxed in here. It'll depend on, well, how much time he wants to put into it at that point. But, and then also down the road, it's going to get a full roll cage, and it'll have the bar that comes back to support right above the rear axle. So we're just plugging away a little bit of time. We're gonna start there and build our way back.
Is that how high the frame is going to be? Like all the way up here?
Yes.
Love you guys.
How do you do? Bye.
See ya. Yes, that's how high the frame is gonna be.
And like that far in too?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, look how
Wait,
there's not very much room between the tires.
that seems too high though.
Just wait for it.
Wait, is the bed going to be over the cab?
I think the bed over the cab. No, it's not gonna be that tall.
That is a skinny frame.
Too far my way. So back up, just right about, come forward a little bit. A little more, right there. So, you should be able to start to see our vision, hopefully. This is basically where the rear end is going to go. This is what the frame is going to be with a lot more gussets and reinforcing. We're actually going to have to run and get some parts because we're getting ready to start putting our 4-link brackets on the frame here, and we need a bunch of these washers. Well, in a automotive mechanic shop, not very often you use a 3/4 inch washer on anything. So we're about to run to the hardware and get a couple of those. When we get back, we'll start mocking up our 4-link brackets on the frame side, and then we're going to build some dummy links out of some 1-inch square tubing so we can get the rear end approximately where it's going to go, and then we can finish doing the back, and at that point it'll just be a whole bunch of bracing. All right, so we made progress. We moved forward, then we moved back, then we moved forward, then we moved back, now we're forward again. You might notice our frame rails are lower. We forgot, we made an addition when we should have been making a subtraction, and we ended up with the bottom 4-link mount, the bottom of the 4-link mount 2.5 inches too tall. So we had to move all this down about 2.5 inches. So now with the current tire size, the monster truck tires, the holes for the bottom brackets will have a level option and then any changing option that he wants to put in there. So for that bottom bar angle, and the top bar angle has a lot of options. But after we got that all moved down, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but we drilled a hole here and we put a piece of pipe in there, 1/8 inch wall pipe, and then welded the end up so that these brackets, the spacing in the brackets is permanently set. It's set at the right width for the heim joints, which we don't currently have. And We just have to finish that up on this side, and then we're ready to start making some dummy bars out of some 1-inch square tubing, and we'll make dummy bars the length of the bars that he's going to use and get the rear end located and figure out what all the lengths need to be, and then we can start moving backwards on the frame once the rear end is where it's at. We got to extend the frame rails, decide if we're going to drop down or run straight. We need to put a shock mount in for the coilovers, and then once that's all done, we can start adding cross members. We're going to put at least one cross member here and possibly one in front of the weld and behind the weld, and then we've got a bunch of gusseting to do and reinforcing to do so that when he lights the fuse on that 406, it doesn't spit the rear end out instead of the drive shaft this time.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Okay, so we got, I think, a lot accomplished. We fully welded just the tops there because we're going to start building some gussets. We're going to start with a gusset here that goes from up here to that edge down there on both sides. And then we're going to start tacking some cross members in here and get ready to start hanging the next bars. We got to make our mock-up brackets for our upper bars, and then we can start building our frame rails back and putting cross members in and get our shocks mounted, and then we just got to finish out the back of the frame rails, and then it all needs to be gusseted and welded and reinforced and welded and reinforced some more and welded again, and then it'll be time to order. We'll know the exact lengths for what we need for all of our bars, order the materials to build those, and just kind of finish up all the little stuff, and then get some real tires and some gears on it. Not that these aren't real, but these are old and dry rotted. These are just, all this is just for mock-up. Some
So
new
are
sticky
those
tires.
bars down there that you put in staying in there?
No. These bars are just for mock-up.
Oh.
Because we had no idea what our length was going to be. So we kind of set it up the way we wanted it, and we somewhat built it around the length, but we really needed to get it in there and visually see it, because just in case nobody knows, this is our first time ever doing anything like this. So, I mean, we've built circle track cars, but that's 3-link and completely different. So
You had to make sure the angle of the axle was right before you started welding everything else up, right?
yeah,
Is why
we've
you
got,
built those
right
two?
now we have our axle is set dead on the same distance as it was before, 34 inches from where we cut the frame. That gets our wheel in the opening, and that'll be right. And there'll be some adjustment, but we wanted to get really close. And then we've got 3 degrees of down pinion angle. We've got dead or real close to dead level on our bottom bars, which, I mean, I smashed a piece of 1-inch tubing and drove a hole in it. I'm sure that the holes aren't perfectly centered, so that gets us really close. And then we'll set our upper bars. I think we're going for 14 degrees down angle. So we'll figure out which hole down here makes about a 14-degree angle. Set our upper bars, and then set our length to keep our 3 degrees of downward pinion angle. And then, yeah, then we just got to keep building back. But this was the scariest part of it. The rest of this is just making it, I mean, this has to be right. The rest of it is mostly for aesthetics and bolting the bed on. I mean,
You're feeling accomplished for the day.
Yes.
yeah. I was feeling accomplished when we got 2 tires aired up today. I don't know if you guys saw the live earlier, but that was a huge accomplishment, just getting air in 2 tires. So,
All right, back at it in the morning.
yep. So we got a little bit of work done so far this morning. We've started adding some braces and some gussets and some cross members to the front up there. We got our 4-link brackets finished, except this bolt won't go in. Apparently, between the smashing and drilling of the holes, I don't have all of them exactly perfect, and I'm really surprised because I thought I was doing like a CNC job on those, you know, smashing them in the press and then beating them on the floor with the hammer. But this is just mock-up. It's close enough for what we need. We know that our bar angles are going to work where they're at, and that this ride height's going to work. So now what we're doing is we're getting ready to start mocking up our coilovers so we can figure out exactly where our bar back here needs to go, because we're going to have a cross member here, and then we're going to tie an X to overlap our seam here. So we'll have one piece that goes there, one that comes back here. And so we got our brackets that were cut on the CNC plasma cutter. we're just mucking up our...
That bowl hole has to be inside.
It does.
Don't waste your time.
We're gonna have to massage the holes in these because they're not quite big enough for the bolt, but basically the shock's gonna go in here. We'll get it close to level and then figure out where the cross member's got to go so we can put our brackets on the cross member. These shocks again are just mock-up. He had a set of 9s laying around. We need a set of 7-inch shocks because obviously these are way too long. But yeah, we're just plugging away, starting to get some structure to it so you can start to see there's a lot more bracing that needs to be done. But we're trying to get it to the point where it can roll because this is an active working mechanic shop that needs to go back to work tomorrow morning, and we need this thing to be able to roll out of the way. So Amber's trying to figure out what we're doing here. These are just brackets that we had made. A lot of times you'd find these with a fancy little bend in them, but
so why do you need the inside one and the outside one?
That's I was trying to explain that. You need normally you would find these brackets with a little bend in them, but where we had this metal done, he didn't have the ability or wasn't able to bend those for us, so he just cut us a spacer that gives us the correct spacing when you include this piece so that our shocks still fit in there after this is all tightened up. And this is just an adjustable coilover shock mount, so depending on what size shocks you have, or if you want to drag the rocker panels like Richard does, or if you want to have some ground clearance like most people do, you can move this up and down. All right, so we made more progress. We got our shocks mounted. It's still not sitting on the tires yet because there's some more gusseting and supporting and gusseting and welding and more welding to do. But you can kind of get an idea to see what's going to go now. It comes down and then it's going to flatten out and pick up the original rear bed support. So it'll be mounted on the front and the back on the original bed supports so that the bed should fit exactly the way it did before we hacked the back of the frame off. Unfortunately, I'm out of time for today. I've got to go to Michigan for a funeral tomorrow, and we're leaving super early in the morning, so I've got to go home and get ready for that. But Richard said he's going to stay late and work through the night. No, not really. But he's going to try to get this done, and we'll check back in with him when I get back from Michigan next week and take a look and see how it all turned out. Richard has been busy.
Are you sick of welding?
No, but yes. But no.
So, there it is. All done. A little bit more to do. Still have to add a wishbone for the side to side. Turned out really good. The chromoly rod or swedge tubes and heim joints are on their way. I got all the bracing put in there, and we've internet researched it to death, and we're pretty sure this is going to be enough. Richard, want to say anything?
I'm happy it's done. And I thank Perpetual Projects for the help. Hopefully YouTube likes it.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna haul some ass.
Hopefully you can get in some passes before No Name Nationals.
Speaking of hauling ass, so you guys should subscribe if you want to see how this does, because this is going to the track soon, and it'll be on the channel when it does. And let us know what you think. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I mean, this is our first attempt at a back half. I think we did pretty good.
Richard, do you want to make No Name Nationals even more interesting and call anybody out?
I got a couple ideas of a couple of people, but we're gonna hold off for the moment.
See you soon.